coming to you live from his padded cell high atop Bethel Church, the most heralded, the most despised talk show in all of human history. This is the talk show hell hates. This is Pastor Mike Online.
And here we are coming to you live from our top secret broadcasting bunker here at Area 52. This is Pastor Mike, and I'm online, and I'm live with you today. This is the talk show that hell hates and most Democrats, and probably some Republicans. Anyway, good to be with you today. I've got a ton of things to talk about, and I will revisit some of the issues that I brought up during Sunday morning's sermon because I think they need to be brought up again. It's an ongoing fluid issue. That sounds gross, doesn't it? Anyway, it's an ongoing fluid event happening in our country. Let me just kind of give you something I just thought of just a few minutes ago. I don't have a news article prepared for it, but I did tweet something over the weekend. Like I say, I spend more time on Twitter than I do on Facebook. I'll have to say that. For those of you who try to get in touch with me on Facebook, I don't have Messenger linked into my phone to where it would go off all the time. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't answer all the emails. I can answer some. I tried to answer some today. But anyway, let me move on. I tweeted over the weekend, and normally I wouldn't pay attention to this. But as you know, the president has been replacing federal judges. Now, the permanent replacements, if I understand my Constitution correctly, they have to have Senate approval, and that has happened because of a Republican majority, a conservative majority. I'll say it that way, conservative majority in the United States Senate, minus Mitt Romney. That's been happening. About 200 federal judges. And I want you to understand the significance of that. Because as you know, politicians are sort of, and anybody in any elected office or government office, whether it is the judicial branch, executive branch, or legislative branch, there is a CYA mentality, or CYNA. Cover your and cover your neighbors. Okay? Especially when it comes to evil. Especially when it comes to that. Now, there is a story. Let me pull up Evernote, and I'll see if I can find it for you. And I will put that up on the screen right away. I don't know if you are aware of this, but another friend of Bill Clinton's was found dead. Let me put that up on the screen because it bears in part of what I'm going to say here. Let me push this button, that button, and this button. Now you'll see it. Steve Bing. He's the founder, of course, of Bing. No, anyway. Philanthropist, film producer, dies after falling off building. And he's a friend of Bill Clinton. Now, he, let's see here. Philanthropist, movie, prominent Democratic political donor whose producing credits include the wonderful, awesome Polar. I've never seen the Polar Express. I've watched part of it. And Get Carter. Never seen that one either. Died Monday, being 55. 55, fell to his death from a high-rise building in Century City. Century City is where all the movie studios used to, that's where all their backlots were. And when the studio system started and people started going elsewhere to make their movies, they turned it into a city, believe it or not. Century City, according to a law enforcement source who was not authorized to comment. Why was he not authorized to comment? Foul play is not suspected. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This, look what it says. A spokesperson for the Los Angeles Police Department said it responded to a call around 1 p.m. regarding the death of a man in his 50s in the 10,000 block, Santa Monica Boulevard. Known to be media shy, the real estate scion was a Harvard Westlake graduate who inherited a $600 million fortune at the age of 18. I wish I would have inherited a $600 million fortune at age 18. I'll tell you that. Anyway, being a major Democratic donor and friend of President Bill Clinton. That will get you killed. Ask Ron Brown when you get to heaven. But Ron Brown may not be in heaven. So then we'll ask a Democrat neighbor you have to ask Ron Brown when they see him. Ron Brown, Vince Foster, who else? There's a whole list of people. That's something I'm going to read to you in a little bit from Whitley Strieber. A whole bunch of people that have known Bill Clinton over the years that covered for him and Hillary that are now dead. Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? Now, related somewhat to Jeffrey Epstein. You heard that Trump fired a New York federal judge. Southern District, New York. He fired him. Now, he was appointed by Trump as an interim judge. And I just watched a news conference with Kayla Conway, the president's press secretary, and they were asking her, they always throw these, trick questions at her, hoping that she'll stumble over an answer. She's done a remarkable job. But anyway, they asked her why Trump would fire a judge that he appointed before a Senate hearing. And she said, the answer is he isn't the judge that Trump had as a permanent selected judge. Well, that may be true. But understand the importance of this particular federal judge. As in the case of, practically anything. I mean, why is it that Hillary Clinton got a free pass over 33,000 illegally deleted emails as Secretary of State? You understand, she didn't just break the law one time in deleting an email. She broke the law 33,000 times. Deleting 33,000 emails that they were property of the people of the United States of America. They were my property that she deleted. She stole them and deleted them because they were on her private server, which is illegal. So there's another crime, a felony that she's guilty of. And James Comey, the FBI director, gives her a free pass and says, yeah, she was, what was the word he used? She was like, I can't remember the phrase that he used. It almost made it sound like she didn't make her bed when she was 16. Okay? She was supposed to clean her room and she didn't make her bed. That's what it sounded like. Then they go after a sitting president of the United States over a collusion that everybody now knows that Hillary Clinton sent agents out into the field to try to get Trump officials into a false collusion with Russia. George Papadopoulos he was asked to carry a briefcase full of like $10,000 cash out of one country and bring it over here into America, and it was a setup. It was a setup. It was to get him caught at the airport smuggling in cash. And he said, I'm not touching that. Then the phone call to the Ukraine, which one guy, a whistleblower, says, well, I heard the phone call, and it sounded like to me that Trump was asking for a bribe or something from the Ukraine, a quid pro quo from the Ukraine. Then Trump released a transcript, and all of a sudden now there's no case, but they go against him anyway, right? Even if you don't like Trump, what they did to him was wrong and illegal. While Hillary Clinton gets a pass. I mean, surely you guys who don't like Trump, surely you're not trying to tell me that Trump is worse than Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. Surely you're not going to try to pass that on to me, because I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Anyway, that's not what this is about. The New York, so let's say that just like Tom Fitton, head of the Judicial Watch, he's going after the Clintons. He's going after them on dozens of things, including the emails. So let's say that he actually has a case now, because he's going to have Hillary. She lost her case. She lost her appeal. She has to give a deposition, which means she has to sit in front of a camera and answer legal questions that she don't want to answer. So let's say that Tom Fitton has a case against her after her deposition. Okay, we caught her in lies. We're going to proceed with a case. Who's going to hear that case? A federal judge. And if you're an Obama/Clinton era federal judge, that case never sees a courthouse. It never does. Because they're going to cover for her, or you know what'll happen. One of two things. Either the judge, him or herself, they'll turn on them and expose some wrongdoing that they've done, like, Epstein Island type stuff, which they got. I guarantee you they got dirty stuff on everybody in Washington, D.C. I guarantee it. Or they'll end up falling off of a building in Century City, California. You understand how it works now? So no federal judge under Obama and Clinton will ever let a case like this go to court. It'll never happen in lawsuits to try to change bad laws that were put in by extreme leftist liberals that are unconstitutional. Why don't they ever be judged as unconstitutional? Because a mid-level federal judge refused to hear the case. Threw it out, said it has no merit. Boom, it's over with. It's done. Period. There's no appeal after a judge refuses to hear a case. There's no appeal. If he doesn't hear the case, boom, it's over with. So here's this judge now. And the lawyer for Michael Flynn, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, an American patriot, 30-plus years of serving his country, and they accused him of being a Russian agent. The unmitigated gall of this, it ticks me off. Because I like my military guys. I do. I don't think they're all saints. I don't think they're all Christians. But they are the ones who are protecting me so I can keep preaching what I'm preaching. Guys with guns. And so they go after him as some sort of Russian agent. That's offensive. Okay? Anyway, his lawyer, what's her name? Can't remember her name. But anyway, she made a speech. And she said, somebody needs to look at the Anthony Weiner laptop. Now, for those of you who don't know who this is, Anthony Weiner was a sitting congressman who was married to Huma Abedin. Huma Abedin was Muslim Lives Matter. Okay? She was a Muslim, the daughter of a Muslim Iranian extremist. I think I got that right. Who was Hillary Clinton's right-hand man, so to speak. Okay? Anthony Weiner has a big problem. Of course, he got caught in numerous affairs, had to leave office before he got tossed out. But then he ends up, after resigning his seat in Congress, has nothing to do with himself, so he's sending dirty pictures to a 15-year-old girl. So the police go after him, get a warrant for his arrest, get a warrant for his cell phone because it contains evidence, and his laptop because it contains evidence. So they have a subpoena now. They have a court order, a warrant to search that entire laptop. Guess what they found? They found on that laptop, number one, 100,000 emails from Hillary Clinton's email server, the private server that she set up as Secretary of State. Illegal as all get out. Number one, for him to even have those in his possession. Number two, there's a folder called insurance on that laptop. Insurance. And it isn't about his 501k or, how much money he saved by switching to Geico. Has nothing to do with that. In that folder called insurance, probably that's where they found the 100,000 missing emails. There's something in that folder that Michael Flynn's lawyer, in a speech, said that when about a dozen or so hardened, seasoned New York Police Department detectives saw what was in that folder, some of them had to leave the room to vomit. That was her statement. Now, understand, this is not coming from some guy just making stuff up somewhere. This is a very prominent, reliable lawyer who apparently has intelligence on what was in Anthony Weiner's laptop that they saw. Now, 5 of those New York City Police Department detectives who were eyewitnesses to the contents of that insurance folder are dead. Remember, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and what you know about them will get you killed. And if you honestly think that the string of people who have been associated with them that have all committed suicide or died under mysterious circumstances, if you think that all of them, it's just an accident, let me tell you, there are people who have known me for a day, a week, a year, a month, 10 years, or all their life. Some of them have passed away. There is no investigation of anybody who has known me who is now dead, and people were going, well, he knew Mike Hoggard. I wonder why they died all of a sudden, after suffering, from cancer. Nobody like that. Like you. There isn't one person in your life that someone could say, yeah, they ended up dead and they knew so-and-so. Yeah, right? But there's a long list of people, like four former Bill Clinton bodyguards who were Arkansas State Trooper type people. Some of them they guarded Bill Clinton while he was governor of Arkansas when he went to visit prostitutes and did cocaine. Others guarded him on the campaign trail he's running for president. For those guys, what's the chance? Now, what is the chance that all 4 of the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco Firearms agents that were killed on the original BATF raid on the Waco compound, not the one that burnt the not the one 51 days later where they burn it down, but the original raid that led to the standoff. Out of a dozen BATF agents that were wounded in the shootout, 4 of them were actually killed in the standoff, and all 4 of the ones that were killed, and only these 4, were Bill Clinton bodyguards. Only the 4 men who happened to all, what is the odds that even these 4 men end up, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms spread out all over the country, right? What is the likelihood that these 4 agents end up in the same squad on the same raid on the same day at the same time? What is the chance that that's going to happen? Hey, what are you doing here? I used to work with this guy. We covered Bill Clinton. Yeah, we were his bodyguards when he was governor and when he was on the campaign. Like there's those 2 guys over there. Hey, come on over here. 4 guys, and the only 4 Bill Clinton bodyguards in on that raid. There wasn't 7 men who were former Bill Clinton bodyguards who were on the raid team. There was 4 former Bill Clinton bodyguards who were on the raid team at Waco, and all 4 are now dead from that raid. Gunshot wound to the head, gunshot wound to the head, gunshot wound to the head, gunshot wound to the head. What are the chances, right? So now you got 5 New York police cops, seasoned, veteran. I mean, if you live in New York City, you're going to see the worst kind of evil that there is in this country, unless you Washington, D.C. But you're going to see the worst kind of, unless you go to the Chaz zone in Seattle. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. They see stuff all the time. They see stuff that would make most of us sick and ill. What these guys saw on that laptop, apparently they watched a video. Now, the contents of the video, I'm not going to talk about. No, I'm not afraid it's going to get me killed. I don't know that what I heard is true. I don't know that. But what I just told you can find that out easily. Okay? The thing is, there are rumors about the video that they saw, but I haven't seen the video, and so far the video's not out. It's not on YouTube, definitely. It's not on BitChute. It's not on anywhere else. So far, we have not the public has not seen that video, but I have heard about what's on it. And if anything like that is even remotely clear, if Hillary Clinton even was in the same room as what I heard happen on this video, she is the most evil, add whatever adjective you want to, she is the most evil person on this planet right now. Even if she was in the same, even if she was holding a camera, this woman is an evil that is beyond anything you and I even understand. Okay? So, they've had this laptop for how long? Why aren't charges being brought forth? Why isn't a criminal? Because if you have a video to a crime, you've got what they call a slam dunk. You've got a slam dunk. The problem is getting the video admitted into evidence. That should be easy. It was found under a court-ordered search warrant. Then it should be easy to get this video admitted. Why is there no case? Why is there not a case against the 100,000 emails that they found on the laptop? Why is there not a case on that going? Could it have something to do with a federal judge who has jurisdiction over that laptop, who's sitting on it? Okay? And then they're wanting an answer from the press secretary why Trump fired her, or fired this, it's a man, why Trump fired this particular judge. There's a good reason right there. Because I guarantee you the president knows what's on there. He's probably heard what's on that laptop. And he probably has a copy of it. Okay? Now, let me share this with you. We're going to eventually get into Daniel 3 eventually, if I can get there. I've got a lot to talk about. Let me show you this. I found out that Whitley Strieber wrote a new book, and so I'm going, I think I want this because let me see if I can find the title of it. I have it on my Kindle. Let's see here. Where's my Kindle? My Kindle app. Here we go. I'll give you the title of the book in about 5. Yeah, here it is. It's called A New World. And let's see if I can pull up the title page here. I lost it. Anyway, it's called A New World, if you can have it. And the title is based on something that supposedly an alien biological entity, a devil, a Tokolosh, those of you in Africa know what that is, said to Lieutenant Colonel Philip Corso. Corso went out to investigate an area off of the air base there out of Roswell. He went to investigate an area where supposedly there was a lot of UFO activity. And he drove out there in a Jeep, and there was not a crashed UFO sitting there. This is his own testimony. He wrote a book about this. This was not in The Day After Roswell, but he wrote a book on this, public domain. You can download it. But anyway, he said that this alien was talking to his mind. And the alien was saying, can you have them turn the radars off and we'll leave so we can get out of here? And Corso, being a negotiator, said, what's in it for me if I do? And the alien said, a new world, if you'll have it. Right? And that's what the title of Strieber's book is based on. Now, I'm not even into chapter 2 yet, but let me read to you what Strieber wrote, the very first chapter of this book. He said, our visitors. You understand who Whitley Strieber is? He's the guy who wrote Communion. And he's written some movie scripts he's written some novels that have been made into movie scripts. Wolfen's one of them. I can't remember. There's a couple of them. I know I've seen one of them. But anyway, he started writing about his alien encounters back in the early 90s. And incidentally, when he published this book Communion and he put this picture of this gray alien on the front cover of it, people started freaking out because they're going, that's what I saw. That is exactly what I've been seeing. So that basically his book has opened all this up. Interestingly enough, Strieber was into transcendental meditation for years before these aliens started snatching him out of his bed at night. The alien that's on the front cover of Communion, according to Strieber, is a female alien, one of whom which he has said that on more than one instance, but at least one instance that I'm aware of, he was having a relationship with. And he said in a speaking engagement that he had, a video that he did, that it was one of the most intense experiences he has ever. And his wife is okay with this. His wife has heard this story, and she's like, yeah, I'm fine with this. And yet Whitley Strieber is saying, oh, this thing I had with this alien tops anything you could ever have in this world. Now, folks, that's a setup, right? Okay? So anyway, that's who Whitley Strieber is. So this new book he's got out, he says, our visitors, you know who he's talking about, stand ready to help us face the jeopardy we are in. Are you catching this? And even aid us in solving the problems that we are facing. The degree of their involvement depends on the degree to which we are able to face them and understand what they have to offer us. Now, I'm going to inject a comment in here. I absolutely 100% believe that these, and the word alien is biblical, so I'll continue to use it, but the other words for it are devils, evil angels, gods, You can call them ghosts if you want to. If using the word ghost makes you feel better, then fine. But that's what they are. 100%, zero doubt in my mind. And I believe that these devils are holding back, or God is holding them back from coming down or coming up until man says, absolutely, that's what we want. We're rejecting God finally. It's over with. God leave. We want these things to come down. Man will invite them. Man, not just a man, not just Whitley Strieber and a bunch of other UFO people, Tom DeLonge. Man will do this. Man's going to make sure that that door gets opened. So that's what he means by that. For reasons that are going to become clear over the course of my story, this is not going to be easy. Far from it. Making sense of the relationship would be the greatest intellectual, emotional, and spiritual challenge that mankind has ever faced. If we're able to succeed, though, we are going to experience a vast increase in the range of human understanding. Truly, we are going to enter a new world. Then and I want you to think about this for a minute. Think this through. This is nothing new. Nothing. There is no new thing under the sun. Hitler tried it. He called it his new order. Imagine that. Imagine the same words coming out of Adolf Hitler that we now have. And where did Hitler get it from? Did he have a dollar bill? Did he say Novus Ordo Seclorum? I wonder what that means. Is that where he got it? No. It's the same spirit. Because at about the same time as FDR has Novus Ordo Seclorum put on the back of every $1 bill minted in this country, around 1933, that's about when Hitler started taking power in Germany. Do you see that? Spirit. A spirit is involved here. So Hitler tried it, didn't work. Communist Russia tried it, didn't work. Communist Russia. China's trying it now. Okay? China's trying it now. But it won't be China either. It won't be China. It's a spirit. It is a spiritual takeover of this planet. Don't mark my words. Go read your Bible. Now, that spirit is the one who says we're going to bring a new world. Now, what's it based on? All you have to do is read the scriptures about Christ reigning on the earth and the peace that he will bring and the order that he'll bring to this world and the equality. For those of you who want equality, Christ is the answer. I guarantee you he's going to bring it. God hates an unjust balance. He hates it. Now, speaking of an unjust balance, let me tell you what's unequal in this country. There's a lot of things. Wanting to get rid of Aunt Jemima because she is a black face used to promote a product, while at the exact same time fussing and whining because Snap, Crackle, and Pop are all white faces. How come there's not a black face on there? That's inequality. And if you think I'm just making a joke, you are wrong. And if you think I just made that up, you're wrong. Yes, it is now being accused. There is a, look this up. I can't remember her name, but there was a fired member of parliament from Great Britain, fired because she got in legal trouble, ended up in jail. And even England has a law that says you can't be a member of parliament while you're sitting in prison. So they fired her for being a member of parliament. Okay? And she was, I think, of African ancestry. So anyway, she's now making big noise in England because she's all Black Lives Matter, because she says it's wrong that Snap, Crackle, and Pop, which, yeah, they eat it in England, all have white faces. How come there's no black face on there? And then of all things, Cocoa Puffs in England, or Cocoa Crisps or something like that, well, they use a monkey on their box. That's racist. So which is it? Which is it? Is it because they use a black face? That's racist? Or is it because they use all white faces? That's racist. Which one? Because you can't have both. You can't say, I'm against a black face on the box of a cereal box. I want the black faces gone. How come those faces are all white? How come one of them's not black? You can't say both. Number one, it makes me think you're deranged. Number two, you're unequal. You're not balanced. And God hates an unjust scale. It's an abomination to him. Look it up in the Bible. And that was basically the way people sold goods back in the day. You remember, they weighed out gold, they weighed out silver, they weighed out, okay, you've got barley. Well, I've got wheat. Well, how about 5 pounds of your barley for 3 pounds of my wheat? Because barley wasn't as expensive as wheat. So how about that? Well, when we go to weigh them out, if you're going to put your thumb on the scale, I'm not doing business with you. Because you're either trying to make my weight unequal or you're trying to overweigh your weight. One way or the other, you're cheating me. And even God said I got a problem with it. So any kind of, and in the symbol for the Justice Department of practically every nation in the world is a woman with a blindfold holding a set of scales. And they're equal, right? So the scale, they call it the scales of justice. Why isn't the scales of justice equal? So now, and the whole thing about Aunt Jemima, right? The whole thing about Aunt Jemima is, here is this, and some of you, you read the wrong story. If you believe that there really was an Aunt Jemima who was a slave, you're not, let me straighten it out. Read the Wikipedia article on how General Mills got started. Or the Aunt Jemima, not General Mills, but the Aunt Jemima product line got started. It was 2 guys that came, there was so much wheat, you couldn't sell wheat to save your life back in the late 1800s. So they said, we got to figure out a way to sell wheat. So they came up with a pancake recipe. And it worked pretty good. It was a way of just mixing together a few simple ingredients. Here, just dump this bag in, add some milk and water and maybe an egg, and you've got pancakes. What are you going to make it that simple? So it took off real easy. So they did use the image of a mammy. You don't know what I'm talking about. They used the image of a mammy on the box, called it Aunt Jemima. And the Wikipedia article will tell you more about that. But anyway, they didn't find the recipe from a former slave. They hired a woman to go around on behalf of the company to county fairs, different places like that, different venues, to pretend that her name is Aunt Jemima, and paid her to go and make pancakes for people and represent the product. They actually hired this woman, and she used to be a former slave. That's the true story. Now, whether she was actually a millionaire or not, I don't know, but she died a very wealthy woman. Very wealthy black woman at a time when black people couldn't get paid 10 cents for a day's work. She died very wealthy, okay? Just being herself. Then after that, they hired another woman who, I don't know how much money she made, but she ended up buying a 21-room mansion. Yep. And didn't know what to do with the room, so she let it out for like a hotel room or something like that. Anyway, what I'm saying to you is, and the family of one of these women, I think, sued Quaker Oats over they weren't paying her estate correctly or something like that, and they lost the case. So anyway, but understand this. Do you know who owns Aunt Jemima? Do you know who owns that? What company owns it? Now, before I tell you what company owns it, here's the reason. And even though the Aunt Jemima image has been completely removed and devoid of any racial stereotyping in any way, shape, or form, except they used the face of a modern, black, older woman. Period. No, bonnet on the head, nothing. Nothing. That's Aunt Jemima, okay? And what black person doesn't talk in favor of their aunt? They all have an aunt that they love. All of them. I have aunts that I love. I don't call them aunts, aunts. Anyway, so get this. So she's been modernized to just be not stereotypical, not in any derogatory fashion. She just looks like what most black women her age would look like now. Nothing at all. That could be, you look at that and say, oh, she's a slave. Oh, I bet she's under tyranny. Oh, I bet she's been whipped. No, there's nothing that says that. Nothing out of the picture, right? So the company, and a study was done. There's a company that keeps track of demographics, who buys what. And on a scale of 0 to 200, the number of white people, 100 being like in the dead middle, the percentage on this scale of white people who eat Aunt Jemima products, it was like in the 90s, meaning less than middle. Of the black people in this country, or if you like African Americans or people of color or whatever, 197. In other words, a near perfect score. Why? Because they associate with the face on the box. And they like the food. They like the syrup. They like the pancakes. That's how well Aunt Jemima products did in the black community. That's how well that product did. If you're a company and you have that kind of market saturation, you don't get rid of that. You brag about it. Look at what we're doing. So what did they do? They were afraid. They said the image on that box is stereotypical of slavery, so we're going to eliminate it. We're going to remove the name. We're going to remove the picture because it stereotypes black women. The company who did that, who owns Aunt Jemima, this will be funny if it's not just, it makes me angry. Quaker Oats. What is their logo? A Quaker pilgrim from the 1700s, and there are still Quakers in this country, in Pennsylvania, and they haven't dressed like that for 200 years. I guarantee you they haven't dressed that way. So why is it that a modernized Aunt Jemima face reeks of slavery, but the image of a 200-year-old Quaker is not stereotypical of all Quakers? Why is that? You know what that is? That's unbalanced. That's an unjust scale. It is, they call it reverse racism. You know what reverse racism is? Racism. It says that any depiction of white people, no matter how ridiculous or stereotypical, is okay. But any depiction of black people in any way is automatically racist, even though Quaker Oats enjoyed a near 100% market share of African Americans, people buying Aunt Jemima products in this country. In other words, no black person ever had a problem with Aunt Jemima until George Floyd. And Aunt Jemima either the two ladies or the three ladies or four ladies that represented her for General Mills for years, then Quaker Oats, either the people who represented her, none of them were ever found guilty of killing George Floyd. That's inequality. And it's deliberate. So all you have to do, if you want to understand the devil's new world, flip Jesus' new world upside down. Because that's how it's going to be. If you think that all of this stuff that's going on in around the world now, not just America, Great Britain, France, Europe, it's going on everywhere. If you think that that's going to make a better country, you're an idiot. You are. You have swallowed the garbage that you've been fed. You've been fed vomit is what you've been fed, and you lapped it up quickly. So that's Whitley Strieber and the alien devil's version of a new world. And it's coming. So he said the visitors are not just technologically more advanced than us. They have a completely different way of seeing reality. And when we first confront it, we are going to see them as being in possession of godlike powers. Breathtaking insight and seemingly unlimited scientific knowledge. It's because they're gods, Whitley. They are gods. These are gods. These are familiar spirits that you've been in contact with while you think it's your wife, Annie. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, Whitley and Annie wrote a book together after she died. Did you know that? But it wasn't Annie, Whitley. It wasn't Annie. It was a familiar spirit like the one that showed up that said, "Hi, I'm Samuel." Only it wasn't Samuel. They will appear this way not because they're more intelligent, but rather because of the different way their minds work. They are not more intelligent than we are, not at all. Yeah, they are. Well, let me stop. Let me stop. They're beasts. In the truest sense of the word, they're beasts. Because they have no control over something you and I take for granted every day. Choice. Choice. They have no control over that. Show me an angel that makes a choice. Show me a beast. Show me a dog that can refrain for the rest of his natural dog life from sniffing another dog. Show me one. And I'm not trying to be crude or vulgar here. I'm just making a point. Show me an animal that can deny its own nature and instincts. Show me one. Can't be done. They also can't close their eyes and visualize themselves being in a room with somebody else. They can't perceive their own existence. They can't. God didn't give them that. So Whitley says they're more experienced and their experience is fundamentally different from ours. We must not elevate them above what they are, but seek to meet their strengths with our own in most meaningful and mutually enriching ways that we can find. But what really got me is our visitors stand ready to help us face the jeopardy we are in and even aiding us in solving the problems that we are facing. And Strieber, from what I gather, wrote this book before what's happening now. Okay? So that's a clue. That's a clue as to where we're headed. You want to know what's going on? That's just a glimpse of it. But that's setting the tone, all right? Now, let me get into, if I have time. Oh, speaking of a new world. Oh, who lives in a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob Transgender Pants. The anthropomorphic sea sponge star of the children's cartoon might have a preference. See, I'm going to be honest with you. My kids were young. I started watching SpongeBob, and I rather enjoyed it because whoever was writing the jokes for this animated series was a genius. I like a good joke. I do. Clean ones, but I like a good joke, and there was some pretty good ones on there. All right, it was funny. It was fun. Like Bugs Bunny to me is funny. I still like Bugs Bunny. It's hilarious, and I like Three Stooges, and I like SpongeBob. And I never ever in my mind, when I would see Patrick and SpongeBob together, I'm never going, oh, I bet they are. Yeah. Never saw that. You know what I saw? Two children. Two children. You know, I mean, young children. You know, like when you have young children, boys and girls, even a lot of their gender identity hasn't really come out yet. And they play together and play the same games and then play them the same way. Young, like, 3-4-year-old. That's how I see SpongeBob and Patrick. I never said, oh, they're gay. I mean, look around. Patrick doesn't wear pants. And who cares? Okay, who cares? Neither did Donald Duck. And I never went, he's not wearing pants. Oh, my goodness. Ducks don't wear pants. So now they're making him into a cause. Apparently, the anthropomorphic sea sponge of the massively popular children's cartoon might have a sexual preference. In a tweet posted in honor of Pride Month, Nickelodeon announced that SpongeBob SquarePants is celebrating Pride with the LGBTQ pedophile community and their allies this month and every month. The Nickelodeon tweet also features other characters and actors from Kids TV Network that are members of the LGBTQ pedophile community. Cora from The Legend of Korra is gay or bisexual, and actor Michael D. Cohen from Henry Danger is transgender man. I have a problem believing that one. But anyway, this isn't the first controversy over SpongeBob's in 2002 episode titled Rockabye Bye Val. SpongeBob and his best friend Patrick Star, a pink starfish who also lives in Bikini Bottom, co-parent an abandoned scallop. Now, I'll be honest with you. I got more offense out of Bikini Bottom than I did Patrick and SpongeBob raising an abandoned scallop. I didn't get it. I didn't see this as, this is two gay men raising it. I didn't see it that way. I'm watching it. I did. I'm going Bikini Bottom. I know what that is. That's nasty. But that's what, just expect it now. Expect it. Children's purity. Their pure way of seeing the world now is trashed forever. In the 70s, my mom was watching a TV show, and the first time in the world I ever heard a man say on this TV show, I'm gay, I had to ask my mom, what does that mean? Because I had no idea. I'm a kid. I'm probably 8, 10 years old. And my mom didn't want to tell me. She's like, oh, I don't know. I guess it means happy. And it didn't make sense. Why everybody on the show would go, woo! Because, you got that kind of laugh. Anyway, children, it's the innocence. Innocence is gone. Let me read some other stories while I'm here. Oh, here we go. Here's a good one. Scientists edited human embryos in a lab, and it was a disaster. A team of scientists has used the gene editing technique CRISPR to create genetically modified human embryos in a London lab, and the results of the experiment do not bode well for the prospect of gene-edited babies. Biologist Kathy Nyakin and her team at the Francis Crick Institute wanted to better understand the role of a particular gene in the earliest stages of human development. So, using CRISPR, they deleted that gene in human embryos that had been donated for research. When they analyzed the edited embryos and compared them to ones that hadn't been edited, they found something troubling. Around half of the edited embryos contained major unintended edits. Now, all you pretend Bible scholars out there, and I'm including probably 99% of the pulpit speakers, around the world. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. When I sat in elementary Greek class and other classes in Bible college, and I heard this garbage about, even though back then I didn't see it for what it was. I was young. But I heard this idea that, yes, some of the better manuscripts, this has been edited out, or this is missing from the superior manuscripts. It does not, and this is what I heard. I can remember one professor in particular, and I liked this guy. He was closer to our age than some of the other professors, but he said it doesn't affect, and I can still hear his words to this day, it doesn't affect any major doctrines that we believe. Major ones. So I would ask now this same professor to show me one verse in a New American Standard Bible, which is the preferred amongst the elite scholars, to show me in the New American Standard Bible and to prove to me beyond any reasonable doubt, not shadow of a doubt, any reasonable doubt, I'll accept, to show me that the Godhead, the Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, are in fact one. Show me that without 1 John 5:7. Should I wait for an answer? There isn't any proof at all in any verse anywhere in any Bible except the King James, the Johannine comma, they call it, 1 John 5:7. There is no evidence whatsoever, no reasonable proof that the Godhead are in fact one if you don't have 1 John 5:7 in your Bible. Now, that is a major doctrine. And if you don't believe that, just look at the doctrinal statement of practically any Southern Baptist church, Baptist church in general. They all believe in the Godhead, all of them. Most seminaries, not all, most seminaries still believe in the Godhead, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, and these three are one. Most of them still believe in the triunity, they call it. Well, prove it then. Prove it. They can't. And so what happens is when you start editing the Bible, which is what the Sinaiticus and Vaticanus Greek manuscripts have done into the tens of thousands of words. When you start editing the Bible, there are always going to be quote-unquote unintended. But we know with the devil, it's not unintended. It is intentional. And so here, all they did was remove one gene out of the genetic structure of what? Over 1 billion different genetic sequences that are in the human DNA sequence? Just one out of 1 billion. And yet they said it's like dominoes. All we did was tip over one. That's all that sounds like, it sounds like a teenager. All I did was that one thing. That's all I did was one lousy little thing. And you got to make a big deal about it. Yeah, well, apparently according to the rules of genetics, when you tip over one domino, you create a monster. Okay? So now that sets up, let's see here. Here's the next story on that. Israel aiming to enable unprecedented human DNA edits to help cure illness, in spite of the fact. Now, let's see. The previous story came out when? I don't have a date for it. It's just recent, okay? And yet here is, I got to pull that back up again. This one here, June 4th. In spite of the fact that we now know that this has disastrous consequences, we're going to plug on. We're going to keep going to edit the human genome. Okay? They don't care. They don't care what it costs. They don't care how disastrous. They don't care about the fact that they're editing a book that they didn't write. They don't care. They don't care who wrote DNA. They don't believe that. They believe since it wrote itself, I guess I can change it however I want to. And that's what they intend to do. I don't think I have anything else on DNA. Let me talk about Chaz for a minute. Seattle Police Union head, if we can't stop an unruly mob from taking over, we're in serious trouble. This is the police chief. He said, this is what happens when our elected officials don't have the political will to enforce the rule of law, which is a majority of Democrats and some Republicans. Liberals. I'll just say liberals. Okay? Liberals in general. The violence is the sole responsibility of our... Anyway, this was Seattle Police Officers Guild President Michael Solon said Monday, following the weekend's violence inside the city's Capitol Hill organized protest, CHOP, our area seized by activists. The violence is the sole responsibility of our elected officials here locally that have allowed this to occur. Solon said in an interview on Fox. Of course, he's not going to be on CNN. He's not going to be on CNN. No way, no how. Fox has to do it. So you can imagine why then Fox News Network, let's see here, where is that one? No, that's not it. Yeah, it is. Trump rally earns Fox News biggest Saturday ratings in history. And did you see the rally? Did you see the rally? I'm looking at empty seats up there, and I'm going, what happened? What happened? Did the Secret Service restrict the number of people that could show? I doubt it. So I'm watching the rally, and I'm going, there's empty seats. There's space on the floor. I don't get it. Well, apparently, who was it? It was Black Lives Matter. That somehow, some way, I haven't read the article yet, that kept most of the people who had a ticket to go in. Remember, over 1 million tickets were ordered for this event. Now, there's no way 1 million people could fit in that building. But over 1 million people would have shown up to this rally. That's significant when you think about the idea that Joe Biden has not had so much as a press conference in almost 90 days. 90 days. And according to him, he sees roughly 2 people a day in his basement. Roughly. That's an estimate now of the crowd that shows up in his basement every day. Roughly 2 people a day show up to talk to Joe Biden. And he's supposedly now, CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC, MSNBC want you to believe that Joe Biden is surging in all the polls. That's what they want you to believe. Do you believe that? I don't. Not for a second. Anyway, Solon went on to say, we are unable to get into a 6-block area. We've lost a precinct. And they lost, when they say a precinct, they mean a precinct headquarters, police headquarters, office building, where they take in prisoners and process people and write up reports and file charges and collect evidence. They lost that building. They didn't just lose control of a few blocks of real estate. They lost their building. And the politicians, Seattle City Council and the mayor and the governor, voted voted to not let the police retake their own office. Now, next time the mayor or any of the city council members call 911, stuff it. I say, shove it up your nose. Okay? They don't deserve police protection because they refuse. They refuse to offer police protection to the people and the businesses who have been forced out of the CHOP area. Do you remember what started the Revolutionary War? Did you ever read the Declaration of Independence? It wasn't just, yeah, we don't want to pay taxes anymore, so we're going to try to start our own country, dude. That wasn't it. They enumerated the list of offenses that King George had committed against the colonies. One of which was, number one, not only do you fail to protect the colonies, you hired German militia private contractors, Hessians. If you remember that from your history books. You hired Hessian soldiers to come over here and open fire on us. Because of that, we believe that you now have abdicated your authority over us. The moment you started killing us was the day you said you're not worthy to be our sovereign. We're choosing our own next time. Let me read what else related to that here. I got to get rid of some stuff here on the screen. Let me put some other stuff on the screen for you. What else? Steve Bing, we already read that. He's a Bill Clinton friend, and all of a sudden, he jumped off 1,000 feet, building top down to the ground, all by himself. Imagine that. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. President Trump authorized feds. That's not it. That's not the story I wanted. Let's see here. Reform. No. Where is it? Where is it? Antifa. I can't find it. Can't find the story. The headline says President Trump authorized feds to arrest anyone who vandalizes statues on federal property, but for some reason my Evernote app isn't working correctly and it won't work. Let me pull this one up. For those of you who thought Facebook was censoring you, well, you were right. Facebook content moderator, if someone is wearing a Make America Great hat, I'm going to delete them for terrorism. Now I want you to stop and think about that for a second. Terrorism. Terrorism is flying an airplane into a 110-story building, killing over 3,000 people. That's terrorism. That's terrorism. Whatever idiot would delete a Facebook post because someone in that post was wearing a MAGA hat, you're an idiot. You hate this country, and I think you ought to be deported, even if you are a citizen. Facebook insider Zach McElroy, I will testify before Congress about the Facebook bias I witness against Trump supporters. McElroy, we are essentially in charge of what gets said and what gets stifled. According to McElroy, 75 to 80%, 4/5 of posts selected by Facebook's algorithm, you know who to blame for that. For moderator, Al Gore. For moderator review, support President Donald Trump, Republicans, and conservative causes. 80%. If it was conservative, it got chopped. Facebook content review lead. It's a very progressive company who's very anti-Make America Great. Facebook human-directed restriction of free speech raises questions. It's not an algorithm that's deleting the post, even though Facebook wants you to believe that. It's a human who saw a red Make America Great hat, probably on a black man, and said, well, we can't let anybody see that. That's not our narrative. That's not how we want to change the world and bring in a new world. So let's censor. Now, here's the thing. They want you on Facebook. They do. They want you, all of you conservative Bible believers out there, they want you on Facebook. Because they make billions of dollars reading all the stuff and looking at all the stuff you do on your web browser. Now, a guy complained on a Facebook post one time. He's going, I'm sick of Facebook. I'm going to delete Facebook. Somebody said, why? He said, I'm sick of seeing all these ads for homosexual gay sites. And a guy told him, I hate to break this to you, but Facebook, you gave them access to your web browsing content. Yeah. See, Facebook reads, you gave them permission to know practically everything you browse on the internet. So they want to use you to make billions of dollars. They want you on Facebook. That's why they haven't deleted you outright. They want you on Facebook. They just don't want you to have the ability to say what your transgender neighbor gets away with saying. You see, and here I have a tremendous inequality issue when it comes to the N word. I have a huge... It's not that I want the right to say it. I admitted in a sermon here recently, I said that when I was 15 years old to a school bus driver who was a substitute one day. From the back of the bus, I was sitting in the back of the bus, and I yelled it out loud. And I wake up sometimes, and I shudder over saying, I'm not kidding you. I hate the fact that I said that when I was 15 years old. And he never did anything about it. He was a lot better person than I was at the time. So it's not that I want the right to say it. But why is it? I mean, I watched a video today that someone took inside Chaz and people giving speeches. And one guy saying, this is going to be a bloody takeover. If you think that we're kidding, we're not. We know that the only way to take this country over, it's not going to be with political speeches. It's going to be with gunfire. And he was dead serious. Now, the person's YouTube channel that I watched this video on, I mean, it was just something I saw on a Twitter feed, so I pulled it up. The person's YouTube channel that this was posted on, it was a gamer channel, and in his channel title was the N-word. N-I-G-G-A, gamer. Now, that's inequality. How come some people can say that word in literally every sentence, including social media, but some people can actually get arrested or sued for using that word? That's inequality. That's kind of stuff I'm talking about. Okay? And again, it's not because I want the right to say that. whether you give me the right to say it, I won't use it. Period. I mean, I have a right to commit a homosexual act. I'm not ever going to use that right. You get what I'm saying? So it's not that I want it. It's just that why is it unequally balanced? And that's what's going on at Facebook and Google and Twitter. Now, there are other social media platforms. Yes, you can switch over to them. They're not followed by the entire world, which is why I still post sermons on Facebook. I want the world to see them. I want the world to have access to them. And I want the world to have the ability to find them even if they don't know they exist, which is how you found me. You know how much money we spend on advertising a year? Zip, nada, nil, nothing. We spend absolutely nothing on it. It's all up to YouTube, Google, Facebook, Twitter, their algorithms. And based upon if you looked up Giants videos or you looked up videos about the New World Order or DNA editing or Daniel 2 or Revelation 3 or whatever, all of a sudden now, bing, here's Mike Hogger. And you're going, who's Mike Hogger? Or you looked up something related to, I used to put tags on my YouTube videos. I quit doing that. I haven't done that in years. You know why? Because YouTube, they figured out. They know what I'm saying in there. And people still find me. So that's why I'm still on YouTube. And I follow YouTube's rules for the most part. I guess I do. They haven't kicked me off. I don't even have one strike against my account. Never have. I've been taken down a couple times, and when I complained that it was for the wrong reason, they put it back up. Never had a strike against my account. I play by the rules for the most part because I know it's their playground. Okay? And I want the world to be able to find what I have to say. Or else I wouldn't care whether I left YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and left the whole thing and went to some of these other platforms. They're just not well known out there. That's why I use them. So anyway, Trump apparently has said if Twitter keeps deleting his tweets or they start censoring the President of the United States, he's going to have them taken over as a public utility, and they won't get the chance to do that anymore. It'll be illegal for them to do it for any reason whatsoever. Let me show you this. New York City shooting surged 358% over same time last year. Do I even have to read that article? Nope. There's another one here. Here we go. Here's another one for you. Chicago sees 102 shootings this weekend. This last weekend. 102 shootings. Divide that up. What's a weekend? 2 days? 48 hours? So that's roughly 2 shootings every hour in Chicago. Now, figure out the amount of police support in a normal environment that Chicago would give or allow their police to deal with things like this. But now, because of the ridiculous mayor that Chicago has. You know, the Nazi mayor who came out before George Floyd and said, if I see any of y'all out on the street, I'm going to have you arrested. Mark it down. If I see one person on the street, I'm going to have you arrested. And then the riots took place. And she said, they're patriots. They're patriots. See the unjust balance? In other words, if you own a barbershop or a hair salon or a nail place and you are fighting to stay alive, to keep your employees paid so they can pay their bills and feed their kids? You're immigrants to this country, and you know that you don't have the education and language skills to get a job anywhere else, so you're working at a nail salon to feed 5 children? And then the mayor of Chicago, the entitled mayor of Chicago, has the audacity to tell you that you're going to sit home and starve your children to death? But then she lets 1 million people protest the very next weekend. That's unequal. And God says it's an abomination. Does he not? It doesn't matter what the balance is. If it's an unjust balance, God said, I got to switch to this. The president tweeted this yesterday, and buddy, I read the retweets with comments. I read the thread. Now, a lot of that's one of the things I like about Twitter is, how am I going to put this? I quit reading Facebook because it entitles people who have an acerbic character about them. In other words, somebody who hates the world and hates everything except themselves. It entitles them a mouth. Whereas nobody would ever say the things about me or to me. They would never say these things to my face. They say them on Facebook comments. No matter what I post, there's somebody out there with an adverse opinion to it who thinks that they deserve to be heard. No matter how offensive it is. I took a picture of my 15-year-old son's first deer that he killed and put it on Facebook. And you wouldn't believe the idiotic statements I got over that comment. You wouldn't believe the things people said about me and my son enjoying his first deer kill. And not too long after I let those people have it, right back, I just quit reading stuff. So Twitter doesn't just give you a lot of room for comments. But I read you can retweet someone's tweet with a comment, okay? And believe it or you wouldn't believe the people who came out of the woodwork on this one. Trump tweeted in all caps, "Scandal of our times." He said, rigged 2020 election, millions of mail-in ballots will be printed by foreign countries and others. It will be the scandal of our times. Now, I want you to ponder, I want you to think about this. What the liberal left wants you to think is that Trump was sitting in the bathtub one day playing with the rubber ducky in there and, you know, making little water jets and stuff like that. And then he's thinking, you know what, I bet foreign countries are going to invent a machine that's going to make ballots for Joe Biden. What do you think, rubber ducky? Oh, I think it's going to be, I think you're right, Mr. President. So he tweeted it. That's what you would think CNN thought about it. Now, where do you think he really got the idea from? Let me explain to you. You know, I've complained about the NSA for years. Well, it depends, I guess, on who's president, because if you've got somebody in there that you really do believe that you think he does have the best interest of our country, the NSA gathers intelligence. You know what that is? Letters, communications, emails, texts, phone calls. they can even have a computer analyze a vocal phone call and recognize the words and then make a script out of it. Then the analyzing computers then analyze, no matter what language it's in, they analyze the transcript of that phone call to look for keywords, or they can target individual people who they believe are foreign agents operating inside the United States of America. Now, it's illegal for the NSA to just overtly spy, let's say, on Mike Hoggard, unless, of course, Mike Hoggard had given the NSA some reason to believe that I'm building a bomb in my basement to blow up the St. Louis Arch. Now, just for me saying that might get the NSA to listen to what I just said, but once they do, they will say, okay, he wasn't actually saying he's going to build a bomb, and number two, I don't even have a basement. So the NSA gathers intelligence, and who does the NSA belong to? It doesn't belong to Congress. It belongs to the military. The NSA, I want you to understand, is not the CIA. They're two different agencies. CIA has agents, agent provocateurs, assassins, hitmen, all different kinds of people outside the United States. NSA doesn't. NSA has people and a lot of computers and a lot of hard drives, and they analyze data. And I almost guarantee you, in fact, I would put $1,000 down on this one. And I don't have that kind of money, but I would put $1,000 down on this bet that somebody from one of the intelligence communities, there's 17 different intelligence divisions, the United States government, and I guarantee you a report got handed to the president that said, we have reason to believe. Now, he didn't say China. I thought it said China. It didn't say China. It said foreign countries. But I would suspect China. I guarantee you his report said something about China because they hate Donald Trump. They hate that they had to sign a new treaty with the United States. And they want Joe Biden to drill his way into the office of the President of the United States. I almost guarantee you the report sitting on his desk, and he read it, that said operatives in the People's Republic of China have secured the means to print, smuggle in, distribute, and inject illegal, previously marked ballots in the November 3rd, 2020 election. I guarantee it. Do you understand? Do you understand that everything that they accused Donald Trump of, who do you think's really doing that? I mean, it was the idea that Trump colluded with the Russian government to win the 2020 election, to make Hillary look bad, right? You heard about the stolen DNC, Democratic National Committee, files and emails that were stolen from their server by a Russian agent in Russia. Did you hear about that? It didn't happen in Russia. It didn't even happen with a Russian agent. Someone who worked for the Democratic National Committee found out. His name was Seth Rich. Look it up. He found out that it was done internally. Somebody at the Democratic National Committee made it look like the emails were stolen, but they were placed onto a thumb drive. Okay? Then it made it look like that Russia was going to hand over damning evidence found inside those emails to the Trump presidency, when nothing like that happened. They tried to do it, and they wouldn't do it. The Trump people wouldn't touch it. They didn't want anything to do with it. So guess who hired some of Russia's agents to dig up dirt on a candidate running for president? Hillary Clinton. She did that. It's known. She paid for the Steele dossier that made Trump look bad. She paid for it. And now Guess who's in bed with China wanting Trump out of office in the November election? Guess who? You just take your pick. Same stuff, people. There's something else, and then I want to get to Daniel 3. Where is it? Where is it? I told you, I've not given you half of the stuff. Here's a story, 911 operator. We were told by our mayor to stand down. That was Columbus, Ohio. Oh, let's see here. Okay. Seattle mayor walks back Summer of Love comment. And then I'm going to go back over some of the information that I covered Sunday very quickly. Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin continues to be lambasted for a June 11th interview with CNN's Chris Cuomo, during which she suggested the occupied protest around the city's East Police Precinct could simply be a summer of love. The remark has not aged well. In the 10 days since her comments on CNN, the zone referred to as CHOP has seen several serious and violent crimes, including an attempted arson, multiple assaults captured on video, and the fatal shooting of a 19-year-old. You want to hear the audacity of some of the people inside CHOP? When the 19-year-old, the 17-year-old, there was a 17-year-old that got shot, critical condition. 19-year-old killed by a white guy, inside the CHOP zone. Did you know that? It was 2 black males shot by a white guy inside CHOP. Why didn't they protest that? Why not? Then I had the audacity of asking, how come the police are not investigating this? Are you serious? That's called an unjust balance. I was watching a video, and they were out in front of a guy's store protesting, saying, blank the police, we hate the police. So the store owner comes running out with a chainsaw. Did you see that? Going, chasing them all down, and somebody's going, call 911, get them out here. Unjust balance. Now, I got to show you this. John Kerry. Can I go a little bit longer today? Is that okay? It's my time, right? I got to show you what John Kerry said. If I can find it. Yeah, here we go. Put that up on the screen for you. Trophy husband John Kerry Hines threatens revolution in November if Trump wins. That's some big muscles. Anyway, John Kerry warns of revolution in November if Trump wins, while he lays the foundation for it. Former Secretary of State John Kerry is using some dangerous rhetoric about the 2020 election in a recent panel discussion for the Alliance of Democracies. That's a joke. Socialist Front, Communist Front. He made the following statement: if people don't have adequate access to the ballot, in other words, illegal people in our country illegally. Yes, they are illegal. If people don't have adequate access to the ballot, I mean, that's the stuff on which revolutions are built. If you begin to deny people the capacity of your democracy to work, even that, wait a minute. Hold on a second, John. If they're not citizens, it's not their democracy, you idiot. That's an unjust balance, too. They have to become citizens. You see, if they don't want the Constitution ruling them, then they don't get the Constitution protecting them, John. They don't get it. If you want authority protecting you, you must have authority ruling you. And if you want no authority ruling you, then you get no authority protecting you. That's biblical. That's biblical. So he says, you want your democracy to work? Even the founding fathers wrote in the Declaration of Independence. How did he ever read the Declaration? He probably wrote an essay against it while he was at Yale. We have an inherent right to challenge that, and I'm worried that increasingly people are disaffected. What people, John? What people? Name for me. And this is for anybody. You name for me one person in this country who is not allowed to vote who is an American citizen. Name. I'm not saying name an ethnic group. I'm saying one person. Aside from federal prisoners, of course. Name one U.S. citizen who is banned from voting. John, one U.S. citizen. Because if you want a right to vote in my country, I said my country, you want a right to vote in my country, join with me as I sit under the authority of the Constitution. But if you don't want the authority of the Constitution, don't ask me for the rights of the Constitution, because you don't get one without the other. So he's calling for a revolution. And I'm telling you, people, my mother sat at home sick, listening to that sermon. And she said, that scared me. Seattle police chief rapes, and she's a black woman. You would think because she's black, she would be on the side of the protesters, right? She stands with the whole rest of the country. George Floyd was murdered. Everybody agrees on that. But wait a minute, she's a black woman. Why isn't she standing with the protesters? Because she knows that law and order must prevail. Right? And I will say, I do believe, I'll say a majority of the black protesters believed in law and order in their protest. My cousin in North Carolina told me that the protest that was held in little bitty Zebulon, North Carolina, was perfectly peaceful. Didn't have a problem with it. And in fact, he said they should protest. What he had a problem with was when the cops came to him at his gun store and said, you need to shut it down. And when I heard that, I'm going, are you kidding me? They shut you down? No. Mike, these are my friends. And he said they had heard, because they've got somebody embedded in Antifa, and he said they had heard that they had targeted my store and Walmart. And he said they were going to burn them down. And he said, so I called some buddies, some guys that work at the shop, and he said they helped me. We stood out that night, the night of the protest, we stood out that night, standing out there in front of my shop with guns on. Out, not hidden, on. Automatic rifles, semi-automatic rifles. Holding them with our fingers on the trigger like this. And he said, we noticed a gray vehicle driving up down, Pennsylvania license plate, driving up down the street, tinted windows. We suspected what it was. We heard the next day from one of the cops. It was, in fact, a scout vehicle. And he said, they scouted us out to see if we were protecting our place. And when they found out that we were, they decided not to come at us. Smart move. Smart move. Why is it called Chopped? Shelby Talcott tweeted, does anybody know what happened to the people who did not get on board with the French Revolution? Chopped. Some of this stuff I'm not going to revisit. Hey, Minnesota, there's your chief law enforcement officer. Minnesota. Your chief, not Minneapolis. Minnesota, the entire state. There's your attorney general. Proudly holding his anti-fascist handbook. Proudly holding it. That's the guy that you elected. You elected him, Minnesota. You elected him to prosecute violent anti-American crimes. Now ask the question, will he do it? Will he do it with equal justice? Not on your life will he do it. There's one of the Chaz security team members with East German flag. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? The kind of revolution that John Kerry said is bound to happen in November. What does that tell you? Cops will always be racist because capitalism requires inequality. You know what this is not just about social issues. It's about your money in their hands. Let me read to you the wisdom of our beloved King James Bible. The only kind of Bible that's right. Can I get somebody? I ain't pushed too many buttons today. I'll push that one. The only kind of Bible that's right. Notice what God says to his sons. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. You know who he's talking about? The mob. The mob. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood. Let's vote for abortion, pro-abortion politicians. Let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. Now, for those of you who say that capital punishment or self-defense is unbiblical, let me straighten your crooked thinking out right away. Notice the verse here says, the innocent. Because some say, Bible says, thou shalt not kill. Why, I don't carry a gun and never will, and no Christian should ever carry a weapon because that's killing, and God said don't do that. As Christians, we turn the other cheek. Hold on a minute, Mr. Crooked Thinker. You mean your wife's cheek? Because that's what you mean. When you invent this scenario that somebody coming after you is the only scenario upon which we as right-thinking Americans possess weapons, that's the only reason why we would ever there's no other situation at all. Somebody coming to us and slapping us on the cheek, well, they deserve to be shot, right? Is that what you think? Is that what you dreamed up in your mind? Because let me show you how wrong, and I've been using the word idiot all day, but I'll reserve that one. Let me show you how wrong that is. See, it's not your cheek you're turning. It would be your children's cheek. You get my drift? It would be your wife's cheek. Because I let people attack me all the time. When I read in a comment on Facebook that somebody targeted my wife or any of my children or grandchildren or anybody in my family or anybody in my church for that matter, I block them. Instantaneous block. I don't even get into it with them. I block them. You crossed a line. You got a problem with something I say? Then say it against me. But don't you ever bring into the conversation anybody that I am charged to protect. You see, I have authority over my wife, my children, grandchildren, my church. I have authority over them. And it's an authority that I take seriously. And I will protect them. I will protect them with my own life. I will protect them. And I'm not a violent person. My sister will tell you I ran from every fight I started. You can call my cousin Sherry, she'll tell you. I ran from every fight I started. Every time somebody picked on me, I ran. That was just me. That's my nature. The way I did it. My mom tried to teach me to fight. My dad wanted me to stand up and fight. It just wasn't in me. I hit one kid in the side of the head. I regretted it. I called that man you know what? I hated myself for years over that. So I just don't have it in me to just, when somebody slaps me on the side of the face, to shoot them. But if you touch my wife, if I saw you, you say, yeah, that's revenge. No, it isn't. It's revenge if they hit my wife at the store and she comes home to me and says, a guy hit me at Walmart. Then I call the cops. Because that's their responsibility. But if she's standing next to me and you walk up to my wife and punch her, I will use deadly force against you every time. And the law not only allows me to do that, it sanctions it, blesses it. That's not revenge. That's me protecting my wife. Now, here's what you're saying. Turn the other cheek. Pray for them. I will if it doesn't happen in my presence. But if it happens while I'm standing there, I'm not turning my cheek. I'm telling my wife to let somebody whose objectives I don't know at the time. You're asking me to risk my wife's life, who is depending on her husband to stand up for her. Or what if somebody comes over and grabs the wrist of one of my granddaughters? Should I wait for him to grab the other? Should I call the police? See, you haven't thought it through, have you? You haven't thought it through. You don't understand. Especially, I've had British people just come at me just unglued over my idea about guns. That's because they took your guns away a long time ago, and you ain't never getting them back. You are never getting them back. We still have them, and we don't intend to let anybody take them. If they touch my wife or my child or my grandchildren, or if they come in my church waving a gun, they get shot dead. You see, thou shalt not kill the innocent. And if you don't believe what I just said, look up the word murder. You say, well, Jesus told us thou shalt not kill. Jesus said, do no murder. He made sure we understood. You don't believe me? Look it up. He made sure we understood that he meant killing innocent people. Genesis 9, God instituted the death penalty for anyone who took, even a beast, who took a human life. So clearly, God did not mean just don't take human life, period. He meant don't take innocent life. Innocent life. And let me explain so you understand the beast nature of Antifa and everybody like it. There's more than one Antifa organization in this country, I'm reasonably sure. And I'm reasonably sure John Kerry promotes all of them. And I'm 100% sure that most every Democratic elected official and bureaucrat in this country wants a revolution. Want it. So just so you understand me, this is why I'm reading the scripture to you. Let us lurk privily for the innocent blood, for the innocent without cause. It means they didn't do anything to have their life taken or their stuff stolen. They didn't do anything to deserve it. And it doesn't matter if it's a gang member or just your private run-of-the-mill thief or somebody who just murders somebody without being part of a gang, or a politician who intends on doing one or both of them. It doesn't matter what suit they wear to do it and what they're affiliated with when they do it. It's evil, and evil can only be defended with the most violent means possible. What was it that made the living God, Emperor Hirohito, walk in a room and bow before General Douglas MacArthur? The living God, Hirohito, doesn't bow to anybody. What was it that made him bow to General Douglas MacArthur? The atomic bomb. We had to use the most violent force necessary to make Japan stop. And if you do, there's actually a movie you could watch. It's a free movie on YouTube called Emperor, Emperor, and it's about the United States military takeover of the Empire of Japan after Nagasaki and what actually led up to Japan's surrender, because the Emperor was actually going to surrender to American forces, and his warlord generals invaded the imperial palace to kill Hirohito, to keep the war going. It's a matter of history. And the movie they made, there's a side story to me that's boring. But anyway, the history part I like. The story's right. There was enough suffering going on in Japan because of the warlords in Japan. Toyo was one of them. I think it was his name, General Toyo. And he was bent. He tried to kill the emperor to keep the war going. And in the emperor's first time the emperor's voice had ever been heard outside of the imperial palace, he made a recording, and the warlords actually went looking for the recording, and they were going to kill the emperor too. But the emperor, in the emperor's own voice, he made a record and was going to have it played on the radio stations across Tokyo, across Japan, saying, "We're going to surrender to the Americans." And the warlords were going to stop at nothing to make sure that recording never saw the light of day. They would have continued the war at all costs. And it took 2 atomic bombs to make them stop. You see what I'm talking about now? Those who fail to learn from history will repeat it. And you study the Old Testament, you study your Bible, on how God had to stop certain forces from prevailing. It took the most violent means necessary. Now, you may not be able to stomach that, but that's God. That's how God sees it. And if you think it's still wrong to defend either yourself, your family, or your nation, now I got no other way of convincing you. I've tried to give you as much logic and scripture as I can. Come with us, let us lay wait for blood, and let us look privily for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find all precious substance, and we shall fill our houses with spoil. Now, do you really think that Black Lives Matter as an organization, not as a theory, but as an organization, do you think they really care about social justice? No. They care. What is the, wait, stop for a minute. What does the Bible say is the root of all evil? The love of money. And is our Bible right? Is our Bible ever wrong? No, it's never wrong. So God apparently understands something about both human nature and evil spirits that not even we totally understand. And if you don't think that about evil spirits, I'll remind you about what God said about Lucifer. In Ezekiel 28, thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. So we know that we're talking about the devil, right? Every precious stone was thy covering. The sardius, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle, and gold. Gold. Money. Gold is money. Gold is always money in the Bible. When people worshiped idols of gold, what were they worshiping? You get it. But by the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence. What was at the core of Lucifer's sin? His love for merchandise, money. What's at the heart of the mark of the beast? What is it that you can and cannot do unless you don't have or have the mark of the beast? Buy or sell. See? Even the most evil thing that all of us are fearing, at its core, is the love of money. So now we go back. Now, maybe you're starting to understand why people want power. Why is it that a guy, let's say his name is, let's just make up a name, Barack Obama. I just made that up. Let's say a guy named Barack Obama enters life with no real marketable skills. Okay? All he knows how to do, he doesn't invent anything. He's not good at building things. He's not good at stock market trading. He's not a banker. All he's good at is taking other people's money. He's a politician. Explain to me how in 8 years of being president, it is lucrative. I have to say, you get about $400,000 a year being president. So explain to me how after 8 years of being in office, that's what, let's say $5 million tops, before taxes. Why is it that after 8 years of being president of the United States, he's now worth over $100 million? How did he go from earning $8 million as president to being worth over $100 million now? Where did that money come from? So, power is money. So look at it. Look back at your scripture. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood, let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause, let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. What's the purpose of that murder? We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil. Why does Planned Parenthood murder millions and millions of babies? Financial gain. You see, if they had to do it for free, how long would Planned Parenthood be Planned Parenthood? How long would they operate if they had to do it, if they had to perform? If the Supreme Court said, yes, you have a right to kill a baby, you just don't have a right to ever charge for it. You have to do it for free. Do you think they would have killed, what was the number? 121,000 black babies in America in 2018. Do you think they would have done 121,000 black abortions in 2018? Not a chance. You think they would have done that as a public service to the African American community? Are you kidding me? They did it for the money. And then they sold your baby's body parts for profit. Cast in thy lot among us. Vote for us. Cast in thy lot among us. Vote for us. We're the party that will guarantee more. I mean, how does the Democrat Party get people to vote? How did they get the labor unions to vote for them? I have a sound effect for it. How did they get the illegal aliens coming into this country to vote for them? How did they get poor people to vote for them? How did they get minorities to vote for them? Right? I mean, that's really, they're like a one-ring circus. A one-horse wagon. That's all they got is, we'll get you more money. We'll get you more money. We'll get you more money. You want more money? We'll get you more money. More of whose money? Government's money. It didn't start out being the government's money. Cast in thy lot among us, and we will let us all have one purse. You know what that is? Socialism. Communism. That's what it is. The one purse system is why Venezuela is the wealthiest nation in the entire world. Is Venezuela the wealthiest nation in the entire world? No. The one purse system is why the Soviet Union is as financially well off as they are today. Is the one purse system the reason why the Soviet Union is the most financially wealthy country in the world today? The Soviet Union doesn't even exist anymore. Why? It collapsed in on itself because people went to the store looking for just one little thing of sausage and one little thing of bread and couldn't find it, much less have the money to afford it. They weren't looking for, Twinkies and Ho-Hos and Ding Dongs and Hostess cupcakes and Snickers bars. They weren't looking for that. They were looking, their primary source of, we're not talking about steak either. We're talking about sausage, stuff that's made out of scraps. See, the oligarchy, the Central Committee members and their families, they got to eat the cow and the pig. Everybody else got stuck with the heart, the lungs, the liver, some of the meat and fat cutoffs that they made sausage out of. They went looking for a piece of sausage and a loaf of bread in the stores and couldn't find it. That's how well it works. Why did communist China have to stick its tentacles in with greasy politicians in this country to get a trade deal that benefited them into the trillions of dollars? Do you know why? Because communism as a system doesn't generate its own wealth. It only knows how to steal others. And that's what Proverbs 1 is all about. You go read it. Surely their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood. And God is telling his children, stay away from it. Don't vote for them. Don't join in with them. So, to all you guys out there who don't like the fact that I support President Trump for re-election, and you can give me a list of reasons why you think he's arrogant, I'll agree with you. Well, he's a billionaire playboy, and he's, messed around a bunch of times. Yeah, I agree with that too. That's why I've never invited him over to my house. But if you think that I'm going to go and either stand by while Joe Biden steals the election, or if you think I'm going to vote for him, then you don't understand me. And maybe you never will. But there's not a, and listen, Reg Kelly and I, we see exactly 100% eye to eye on this one. You go watch his video, see if he's wearing a Trump hat or not. I don't even wear a Trump hat. Fixing to. But I'm telling you, this election is going to start a violent revolution in this country. You better be ready for it. You better be ready for it. And when you've already been warned that John Kerry has already said which side is starting the revolution. The John Kerry side, the Joe Biden side, the Hillary Clinton side, the Barack Obama side. If that's the side, because you don't like Donald Trump, if that's the side you're going to be on, because you can't stand back and just say, well, I'm not fighting for this. It's all New World Order. No. This is about your grandchildren's right to come to church a year from now, is what this is. Okay? I can't explain it any better than that. I'm sorry I didn't get to Daniel chapter 3. But I just had a lot on my mind to say. So we'll try Daniel 3 Thursday. Listen, if you'd have heard about my day yesterday, see that? I fell face planted down. Actually, I didn't fall on my face. Close to my face. My right knee took the brunt of it. My right hand took the other brunt of it. I bent my glasses, broke my watch, almost broke my wrist. I tripped yesterday out in front of Rich's Frozen Custard in Crystal City, Missouri. When you come to Festus, you got to go to Rich's Frozen Custard. I'm telling you, the burgers and the food is that good, okay? I go there because the food is good, and there's a guy in our church that works there. I support that restaurant, even though the restaurant is owned by homosexual. But you know what? I don't care about him. I care about the guy